you got to be really, really disciplined with pass rush and make sure you pin them, you keep them in the pocket. Don't let them get outside the pocket.
Johnny Mac, moving over to the Eagles' offensive side coming into this football game. One of the main storylines coming out of Super Bowl 59 last year was the way Steve Spagnuolo tried to stop the Eagles' offense. All right, I'm going to take away Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts, made them pay for it, Johnny Mac. How do you think that changes this time around for Steve Spagnuolo? And what do you think the Eagles' offense does to try and beat that defense this time as compared to the way they did it in the Super Bowl? You think it'll be the same? You think Spags is going to double down and do the same thing? Is he going to take a page out of the Eberflus book and maybe do that, but keep a spy? What do you think? How do you think that plan changed? If you're Steve Spags, you got to be at the drawing board, man, wondering, all right, I can't do that again. We gave up a 40 burger, but what do I do differently this time without letting Saquon take me to the woodshed?
Yeah, I one of the most amusing things of the offseason is that because Kansas City was successful stopping Saquon Barkley in the Super Bowl, that everybody would do that. Looked at my head, I go, yeah, I don't think they were too successful in the Super Bowl overall. So I don't know why anybody would be looking to replicate that. And that's part of the problem when dealing with the Eagles is that if you take away one thing and you're hyper focused on it, they can just toggle to the other thing. But because they have talent all over the place, that's part of the problem. It's difficult to deal with. So, yeah, I'm with you. I don't expect them to do the same thing. And then the part of it, and Nick has brought this up in jail and talked about it yesterday, and I talked about it, and I know nobody listens. These are not the same two teams. There's 30+% turnover,
right.
Bunch of different players. I just talked about one of them, Josh Sweat, and another one from Kansas City, Joe Thuney. Joe Thuney's in Chicago. Josh Sweat's in Arizona. Up, down the roster, that's the NFL. So completely different teams, different situations. So no, I don't think the Super Bowl will have that much relevance on this game as far as game plans go. And I think from Philadelphia, look, they'll try to take advantage of the limitations on Kansas City skill position people. And from Spagnuolo's standpoint, I expect him to be more layered as far as not being hyper focused on one particular player. Because he got, as you said, he got gouged by John, and I've heard him verbalize that. He knows he got gouged. So yeah, I certainly don't expect him to.
Don't you remember that interview he did like a couple weeks later, and he was like, "I still can't watch the tape of that game."
Yeah, he knows that was an embarrassing performance from their perspective. So he's not going to replicate it. He's going to try to do something else. I think if you learn from, because Eberflus did everything pretty well, except he didn't have those guys ready to be disciplined on the pass rush. Maybe that's just week one, whatever. But you got to be really disciplined when you're playing a quarterback like Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen or Lamar. You got to be so disciplined on the pass rush. And you can even look at guys who aren't successful, like Caleb Williams. You saw it on Monday night. He's gouging them left and right with his legs. You got to be really, really disciplined with the pass rush and make sure you pin them, you keep them in the pocket. Don't let them get outside the pocket. And that's easier said than done, obviously. But I think, I don't expect a similar plan from Kansas City.
No, me neither. And we'll see what they end up doing. John, who do you think will be will kind of the Eagles offense will run through this week? Will it be another Jalen Hurts game? Do you think A.J. Brown gets more involved? I know it's tough to predict that, but I am just wondering what kind of their approach is going to be coming in, especially, coming off. I do think the Eagles, whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, they do like to correct the narrative sometimes, maybe sometimes too much. And I'm sure
I'd agree. Yeah.
And sometimes, they've already been asked. You heard A.J. Brown getting asked. By the way, he did an interview with, who was that with? Jordan Schultz that was pretty good, and AJ kind of addressed the rumors. I wasn't hurt. I wasn't a decoy. They had
By the way, AJ told me that yesterday because he was watching our show with Josh Shapiro. So
was he?
shout out from AJ Brown, yeah.
All right,
But he
love
said,
it,
but he thanked me for saying, yeah, he's not a decoy. They're not putting him out there week 1 as a decoy. The Eagles aren't that stupid. So, yeah, they do have a history of. They do have a history. If you look at the DeMonte game that Nick always brings up, he got the first target the next game, and had like 6 receptions for well over 100 yards. I think he had 2 touchdowns. When AJ doesn't get the ball, he gets the ball early. Think about that Carolina game last year, which was when all the angst was with the passing comment and all that kind of stuff. And they won it. Then the next game was the Pittsburgh game where Jalen, after the game, said, "Is that what you wanted to see?" Or what? Paraphrasing.
Right.
So they do have a history of correcting that narrative. So I do expect both AJ and DeMonte to be hyper focused. They'll be hyper focused on getting them involved. I do believe that. And they're right from the sense of, like, who cares if you win the game? But the reality is, yeah, they don't like to hear what's wrong with the passing game. What why do you have players like AJ Brown and DeMonte Smith and they're getting, in AJ's case, 1 target in 60 minutes of football, as you just pointed out? How many did Hollywood Brown have?
Yeah, 16.
Well, the Eagles are playing more successful, efficient football.
Yeah. See, the thing I struggle with this, John, is like, all right, I'm with you guys. I just want to win the game. I think that's most important, and I'm happy that the Eagles take that perspective. But how do you gauge? Like, we have AJ fucking Brown. Like, how do we, like, if I told you JJ McCarthy's not going to throw to Justin Jefferson, you'd say, yeah, that's probably pretty dumb. If I told you Joe Burrow wasn't going to throw to Jamar Chase, you'd say that's probably pretty dumb.
By the way, JJ,
how do you game? All right, I want to win the football game, but I also have AJ freaking Brown.
By the way, JJ McCarthy was the NFC Player of the Week.
Oh, that is baloney.
What I mean, if nothing else proves what a garbage award that is, that can't be highlighted more. Look, the guy deserves credit. He came back. He had a terrible start. But overall, if you look at his film, if you look at how he played the entire game, it wasn't good. They just happened to play a bad team and persevere. And he's getting NFC Offensive Player of the Week. It's comical. But anyway, yeah, with AJ's case, yeah, it's obviously a delicate balance. For that reason, I asked both Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni this week about manufactured touches, because sometimes you got to just get your best players to football. I don't think the Eagles have done that well over the years. Now, part of it is they don't really have a jet sweep guy, a reverse guy. That's not AJ's game. That's not DeMonte's game. If it would be more Jahan Dotson, or maybe, I don't even know that enough of if John Mechie could do it. But so, it's limited from that standpoint. The bubble screens, which I hate, by the way, I'm all for no more bubble screens. That's my platform in politics. I'm going to ban the bubble screen. I think it's the ugliest play in football. But it's an easy way to get somebody to football as well. And Nick explained that's more of a numbers game, which I knew, but he explains it. It's essentially an extension of the running game. If you have the numbers, you throw it outside to try to take advantage of one less defender. But all of their answers made sense. You don't want to force the football. You don't want to tell the quarterback what to do. That's bad. I agree with that 1,000,000%. I think that's part of the problem with college football so much, and then now it's bleeding into the NFL, where these coaches don't allow the quarterback to have enough autonomy at the line of scrimmage. I think that is very bad for football teams. And if you don't have a quarterback, or you're not striving to get a quarterback who can handle things at the line of scrimmage, you're screwed. If I'm an owner, if somebody wants to give me $10 billion, then feel free. But if I'm an owner, I don't even listen to a coach. I don't interview a coach who doesn't want a quarterback who can handle things at the line of scrimmage. I don't want that guy. That's ego driven. So there's a fine line, but to your point, you got to get your best players to football. You got it. You can't have a player at that level not getting the football. Bottom line, I don't care how you do it, fix it. And we're talking Tua. I think a lot of people forget because AJ didn't get the target till 58 minutes. Devontae didn't get the ball either. He had 3 catches for 15 yards or whatever, 16 yards. He didn't get it either.